days. So that's always great. Okay, so I hope 2 minutes is over and people are back to seat. So we will start with the interview part. And so as all of you know, so this is part of a series where we uh, interview the leaders from the documentation team field, where we try to get their experience, how they are working, how they are working with the team, the management, and their personal experience. And the motive is completely so that we learn how they are performing, and then if we also want to learn something, implement something, and in case we are inquisitive that how to become a manager, or else if we are already a manager, then probably how to implement a few things, people can come here and discuss during the Q&A also. So continuing the series, so today we have Bhawna Pachori, and she is basically the description as you are seeing it's there in the website. So when you have registered, you must have already seen it. But yeah, just to repeat a bit, I won't be reading every line of it. She is leading the team in MetaCube Software Private Limited at Jaipur, and she has a vast experience of more than 14 years 14 years. And as you can see, she has, taken the path from first being a learner, of course, at some point of time, she might be also junior, like many of the people who you are, and then how she progressed in her career, then started being a leader, and now she has been leading teams. She has been leading for multiple years now. And apart from technical documentation, the interesting part, many of you would be interested because UX writing is another aspect that people are very much interested. She has some good knowledge about UX writing, what she's implementing. So today, we will be exploring what she is doing and her approach towards that. And so initially, I will be initiating with few questions. And then after that, in between, we will be opening up for question also. In between, in case you have any questions that can't wait, please use the chat box and type in there. I will take it up whenever we take a pause or when we come to the Q&A round. So welcome, Bhavna. Thank you so much for joining us. And we appreciate your time and the thought to help the community with your knowledge. So thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Puneet, for welcoming me and giving me the opportunity to share my experience, building up, the documentation team and, how I started my journey as a junior technical writer and now where I am. So thank you so much for inviting.
Yeah, welcome. The first thing that attracts me here, it's kind of not very difficult, but out of box question. Jaipur. Whenever we talk about, documentation teams, it's, the big cities, the IT cities or the non-IT cities, but those big names. But like Jaipur, of late, we have been getting in touch with multiple teams from Jaipur, actually. So now we know that, okay, I mean, Jaipur has we can say a huge repository, actually, of documentation teams. And so off the lake question, like being in Jaipur, I mean, people talk about location. So that's why the question is, like some say being in Bangalore is the best thing. Okay. So being in Jaipur and growing and doing everything. So location wise constraint, did you feel ever in terms of our field?
Basically, Puneet, I'm gonna just walk you through how I landed up into MetaCube and how I came to Jaipur and started this documentation team. So let me talk something about myself first. So I started my writing journey in 2008, and I was not planned to get into technical writing. Was a technical person, wanted to do coding part, and but somehow or luckily I would say I landed up into technical writing. And from there my journey started. My first organization where I started writing was a Sendem Solution. I don't know if anybody have ever heard the name. It's in Bangalore. So after my college I went to Bangalore and started there. From there I got various opportunity to work with various organizations like Alcatel Lucent, which is now merged with Nokia. Then I worked with Ericsson Technologies, and then I eventually got the huge learning path from SAP Labs. So I was in Pune when I joined SAP Labs, and that organization gave me a lot of opportunity in terms of learning about the tools, learning about the processes, how to, do a huge documentation. As you know, SAP is a large organization, and but so there, apart from your professional journey, you have some personal commitments. So I belong to Rajasthan. I am from Kota, and my parents stays there, and they need us. So we decided as a family, okay, we are going to move to Jaipur. So Jaipur is the nearest place to Kota, where you have IT organizations. So we came here, and then I decided, okay, this remote work is not going to work for me for long. I need some company where I can physically go and sit and interact with people and start working actually. So there I landed up getting into MetaCube, and when I joined MetaCube, I was the first one to do the documentation. There was nobody in the organization who used to do. So from there, everything got started. We got clients who was interested in having the content, and then we found more opportunities to grow our team. We set many processes, we identified the tools, and then slowly we had a huge documentation team here in MetaCube. So this is the journey through which I came to Jaipur. And yes, the hub is not that huge because it's a small IT area here in comparatively to Bangalore or Pune or Mumbai, other places. But yeah, this is how I came here.
That's very interesting. The catchy part is the how you started with MetaCube as the first writer. And if I can, phrase it right, probably you generated the interest in them that, okay, documentation is important. And
Yes.
then from there, now, you have a big team and all. So that's commendable.
So we actually we created the need. We
Yeah.
introduced, okay, the text that you are producing can be more appropriate or maybe more aligned and can benefit the customers. So by providing the samples and the ideas, that how we generated the opportunity to.
Wonderful. So if I can just extend this point, because many people, at least the solo writers, okay, or the smaller teams, or else there is another scenario where you might have also heard, people say people don't respect, organizations don't respect doc teams, they don't value the work. So in either those scenarios or where the work is not very clear. So what's your recommendation of making the people realize that, okay, hey, documentation is important? I mean, of course, just by speaking, it can't happen, right?
Yeah.
So any suggestions on that?
So basically, you need to show your work, Puneet. So, until and unless you respect yourself and your work, the content that you are writing, then, people will not realize. So, what I did is that, I made my content so worthy that, people cannot ignore that work. And that made them realize, okay, this is value adding to our organization, to our customers. They are getting benefited out of this content, and that's why how I started, and they realized, and then we had this huge documentation set now.
Great. That's great point. So now when we talk about teams, so like you mentioned, so now there is a team, and so of course, apart from the skill set that they carry when you hired them, over a period of time, how do you ensure that their professional growth in sync with organization need is happening? So how do you ensure that continuous professional growth for the team?
Okay, so for the professional growth, basically, Puneet, there should be, I think, to ensure continuous development growth for a team. I think a lot of opportunities in terms of learning, in terms of development, skill building activities needs to be taken care. I think organizations should focus more on working on the individual development plan for the team member, so that they can align, and they can grow with their personal growth, their career goal, and with the organization objectives. A lot of training and workshops should be conducted that provides relevant training programs, workshop seminars, I think training sessions like your organization is providing should also benefit. Then, mentoring and coaching is very important aspect when it comes to, a professional growth of a, individual. So I think coaching and mentoring relationship between the team should also be considered. Then cross product soft skill trainings, then, tool related training should also be given. There should be a continuous learning culture in the organization, then only, professional growth can be considered. And of course, the individual should also be, keen to learn about all these things. And, we should also provide challenging assignments so that, uh,
Right.
through challenging assignments, the resource can, look forward and can grow in the career path.
Very true. So it should be a mix, and I think individuals should also be up to it because ultimately, yes, you are doing the work of an organization, but ultimately it's getting added to your resume. It
Yeah.
is helping you in, later also. So when we talk about like the content creation, overall managing documentation content. So your documentation content, is it like public or is it online or PDF? What kind of documentation you maintain right now?
So it is an online documentation, although it has some security. So customers who purchase the products or the software, then, the content is supplied to them.
Okay, so
We don't
basically,
have anything in PDF format. We stopped doing, I think, 2 years back now.
okay, so basically it's HTML but login based.
Yes, yes.
So now when you have that kind of content and primarily we people always struggle, even managers struggle at times when it comes to what is the right kind of tool they should use for their kind of content. So you went through such kind of challenges?
So I wouldn't say, challenges, but yes, identifying tools and the kind of platform that you need for your documentation set or for the documentation team is very important. So, I think we need to be very, you know, uh, considerable here that when you are considering any sort of tools, a lot of things are considered there. So I think, how, or what kind of content you are preparing, that matters a lot, um, when it comes to tool selections, or, considering about the tool, or, how the collaboration between the team members happens. So for example, if you have a huge documentation, team, and a huge documentation set where multiple team members are collaborating to the same set of documentation, then, the tools that you choose must be, very collaborative. So, and now since in market we have a lot of tools that, provide these collaborations, so such things needs to be considered, I think.
Great. Yep. Based on the team and the requirements, certainly different parameters are there. So there
Yes,
is
yes.
no
And then there is security factor as well, that, the tool needs to be secured. Nowadays we have a lot of open sources, but then, there are license tools that we need to consider. So there are many factors when you decide on the tooling part.
great. So that's great to know. So now we will try to jump into a bit of hiring process because many people keep on asking and they have different kind of questions. So from a leader's perspective, so when you are hiring, okay, so if you if you have to think about top three qualities that you look for in a candidate, of course you will have your JD. That JD is
Mhm.
fine, but apart from that, in general, top three qualities, what do you look for?
Okay, so when I get into the hiring process, I look for many, points that I consider when I get into the team, because MetaCube is a service-based organization, and we have a lot of clients, and then we have a lot of expectations from the client in terms of content quality and everything. So I do, consider the relevant experience and the skill sets that the technical writer, carry. So that is the most important thing that I consider when, looking for someone in my team. Then this thing is the adaptability and the learnability point. So since we have, a vast client sets, so, adapting to their needs and how we need to, get into the environment, and, how we need to produce the content and get along with the technology and everything. So I think adaptability is one thing that I see when, evaluate someone or, interview someone. Then, I also look for, the technical assessments. So, how the writing style is being, performed by anyone. So that thing also needs to be considered. Then, I think these are the three important. But then apart from this, there are other aspects that I look, like behavioral things also, because when it comes to team collaborations, and since we are technical writers, we need to collaborate with multiple teams at multiple times. So we should be very, flexible, and we should be very patient in terms of doing the collaboration, and where the behavioral part comes. So, how the candidate handle the, challenging situations, or, the real time struggle that comes when it comes to, getting the requirements from the SMEs or other department teams. So behavior part is also one that I try to do the analysis, although we cannot really judge in an interview round, but that is also one thing that I majorly look in somebody.
That behavioral pattern reminds me of one situation that I would like to share with the audience, because we keep talking to different people, different leaders. So one of the managers shared there was one candidate who was kind of 100% fine, written test kind of perfect, everything perfect, technical good. Now this candidate is having the last round, say with uh, the manager of the manager, okay? But that person is like VP, not from documentation team. So generally what we consider is, oh, that's the last round. It's just like a general chit chat. And actually it's general chit chat only, right? That part. A candidate failed there because the VP just asks, okay, how do you feel about the work challenge and all? And the answers were so vague. It was like nothing professional. And the VP said, no, whatever good this person is, but there is behavioral problem with this. And this person won't mingle in our team. That was the reason.
Yeah. So I think this is not very much considered, but this is very important, because how you interact and how you deal with people, a lot of things get, resolved or created through this. So I believe, I think 80% of your job is done if you are very much flexible, and, your behavior or your attitude towards the requirement or change, I think is there. So I think behavior part is something very important.
Yep, certainly. So I think candidates should be very careful about that. Unless you get the offer letter in hand, be careful about each and every step. Don't take any part of interview lightly. Okay, so yeah, so and now when you're building a team, often managers have different kind of challenges. First, to convince the management that, okay, I need resources. That's one kind of challenge. Always there will be budgetary issues and different kind of reasons thrown in. And then when you keep on hiring, when you, publish one job, and often it takes quite a struggle. I mean, many people struggle to find the right candidate. So at times, some are lucky, they find it immediately. So you have an instance where, like, while building your team, you have some kind of specific challenge and it took quite an effort from you, some planning to solve it.
Yeah, so I will tell you the real life example that I'm facing right now. So I have a requirement, and I think I've already posted in the, Telegram channel, where I am looking for someone. It's been around 3 months now. I am not able to find the suitable candidate, and there are a lot of constraints. Okay, firstly is, if the organization now decides, okay, now we don't want remote employees, because now, the real world challenge is gone. Now they want somebody to physically sit in the office and do. So there is that challenge. Okay, Jaipur is a small hub for IT. You don't get that experienced technical writer. Client is asking for an experienced person. So now how I'm gonna get the resource for you? That is the biggest challenge. Okay, so I crossed that challenge. I took the approval from the management. Okay, let's consider this case and now go ahead with the remote resourcing. Now when the remote resourcing comes, okay, some resources are fine, but then they don't want to travel quarterly here. So that is the another challenge. So then okay, fine, now the remote part is also done. Now comes the actual assessment of the written. So if I look into the profile, looking to all these things, the resource has appeared in the examination. Now, considering the experience that his or her profile shows, I assume that okay, the writing style is much better, or maybe he or she is gonna clear that written test. So now the client expectation is not met in the written test paper. Okay, my this resource is gone here. Now again, I have to go through the entire process. Somebody clears the written test. Okay, now when it comes to the face-to-face round, the the resource has great writing skills, ready to do the remote work, but he or she don't have the enhanced experience on doing the documentation work. All the knowledge is theoretical. So now, based on theoretical knowledge, how I'm gonna consider, or how I'm gonna assume that he or she is gonna handle the complex documentation, because here although metacube is a small organization in comparative to other cities, but a lot of client expectation is there. How my resource is gonna handle the complex requirements. Okay, so that case is also considered. Now everything is done. Now comes the budgeting and the compensation part. So some of the people don't agree to what we are offering, so now the again the same loops goes.
Oh
So
God.
it's really difficult and challenging when uh,
Yeah.
and then this process goes. So and until the last day when the resource has to join, if he or she doesn't join, I am just holding my breath. Okay, let's finger cross the resource is going to join my team. What happens if on the last day he or she says, no, I have received a good offer that I'm not going to join? So the entire waste, and because of this my 3 months are gone into the reviews hiring process. And I'm wondering, like, from 3 months I'm just hiring, I'm not doing, and still I have not received any good candidate. So this is really very challenging, and a lot of things needs to be considered. And ultimately, if somebody joins my team, I'm so grateful. Okay, he has joined, very nice. Now what happens is that if somebody has joined my team, whatever he or she has shown me throughout the process, the actual picture is very different. I have to train
Talk
that.
about it.
Yeah, so this hiring process is like sometimes very much challenging, but in the end, if you find, with all the efforts, if you find the right resource, then I think it's a bless for the team. So it's this is the real challenge or the real experience that I'm facing.
Right. Certainly, yeah. So many levels you mentioned, and of course, many people, at least who are hiring, they would agree with it. There is no set rule that this is the challenging part. You,
Right.
where will
And
you get stuck? You
on
never
top
know.
of everything, Puneet, if you have this client involvement also, let's say, client also want to meet. So everything is discussed and now client wants to meet and client doesn't find this candidate suitable, then that is again a challenge. So a lot of thing happens when you do the hiring process.
Yeah,
And I think
seriously.
for managers, it is very much important under this pressure to be very calm and very, patient, because you cannot show your, frustration or, the things that you are carrying inside. And at the same time, you need to listen to your team members. You need to support them. So a lot of struggle goes.
That's why those stress ball, those smileys were there, smiley balls. Like earlier, it was distributed in the office. I think managers need the most. Always keep that ball and keep pressing.
Yeah, because I don't know how this group finds, but a lot of freshers or less experienced people think, okay, being in a manager position, they don't need to do anything. It is not like that. We have so much in our head. We have so much of things that we need to look forward. But they consider, okay, manager doesn't do anything, they just need to send a approval mail and that's it. So no, it's not like that.
I will not get into that statement because I know we had in our groups, we had big discussions. Always we will have ICs and then managers. So managers, of course, speak less in the groups. ICs will be like, what's the big deal about being a manager? And I always say, become a manager and then talk. Then you will know. Right now, you're doing work of one person. When you become a manager, then you will know how many hands you know, how many heads you know. On that point, so I would like to talk to the group. So probably here are some persons who are experienced in hiring, and of course we have ICs. What's your thought about this hiring process? I mean, anybody wants to share the personal experience here? Yes, as an IC also, you can talk about your experience, and managers, of course.
Yeah, sure, Puneet. I was waiting for the opportunity to speak on here. So I think another problem for the manager in the hiring process is like the HR. So they usually don't find the correct profile. When I'm asking for a technical writer, they are giving a profile for content writer. So this is
Exactly.
so this is another point. Like other than
And
the
they
all
will
the
be
points
behind
you
you.
said.
They
Yeah.
will be behind you, okay, this is the right resource for your team. How the HR knows that this resource is right for my team?
Yeah,
Because they have already given you 10 profiles. They don't have bandwidth to provide the 11th one. So they say this is the best profile.
Yeah.
that's true. That's
Yeah, very valid point, Anirban. Thank you. Any other thoughts on this point? Hiring challenges?
Yeah, like not from the perspective of an individual contributor or manager, but as in candidate. So we feel that that requirements are not correct from the HR. So if you are a product information designer and you are a technical writer, there is a lot of different, it seems at times, in these kind of profile. And I have faced this many times where I have written as a senior content designer or a senior technical writer, and then they say that no, you are not a product information designer. So this is also something that I have
Yeah,
faced.
yeah. JDs at times can be challenging,
Mm,
but
Hi.
yes.
so yes, Samyak.
Yeah. So I would like to give a perspective from employee side as well.
Sure.
So, like one of my experience, I was giving interview for ServiceNow. Sorry, I should not take the name. I was giving
Yeah.
interview for a company. So from the starting of the company, I mentioned HR and also the first person who was taking my interview that I'm not proficient in so and so experience, which is in your JD. They said that it's everything is fine, it's okay, you can learn and you can overcome, it's not a very hurdle to pass on. So this they go on doing my interviews till the fourth round. At the end of the round, suddenly like I completed all my first round written test, then again the third round, and at the fourth round also. Then in the fourth round, after that, I am not hearing any communication from the HR or from anyone. So after 3 or 4 months later, suddenly I got a call from that company that there is a conference going on. Would you like to join? And luckily, the HR is the same person who actually contacted me for that interview. So I get my chance and I asked her, what is the reason that you rejected me that time? So they inform me that for that the comment is from the manager side, because the fourth round was with managers. So they mentioned that for that candidate is good in everything, technical and everything, but he is lacking on so and so proficiency or experience. And that exact proficiency I mentioned during my first round or even the HR call, that I don't have that experience. So what is the point of taking me to till the third or fourth round? So
That
that is one of the perspective from
true,
employee side.
true, true. At times,
This,
this confusion does happen because
yeah,
that conversational, the Chinese whispers kind of thing, often
yeah,
the probably the HR did not mention and all that. So it should
So,
not happen.
since Sumedya, can I come in
Yes,
here for a minute
yes,
to
yes.
answer to that? What happens is till you get an offer, that offer is not yours. And at any point in time, the company can get a good candidate. I mean, I've been on both sides, interviewing as well as interviewee side. So I'm speaking a little bit from both sides. I understand from management perspective, you may have made it the last round, but in the last round, if there is some new entry that comes in that has that experience and everything else is equal to your skills and experience, obviously as a manager, I'm going to prefer that person, right? But just because I've gone through with you for 4 or 5 rounds doesn't qualify you as the ideal candidate. On the same token, if the manager would have known ahead of time that this is a crucial skill without which I will not go ahead, that could have been made, you could have been made aware of that in the beginning itself. So I see it's a double-edged sword, but I would say from a interviewee perspective, please do not think, that just because you did not get hired, I told them, "Mera time kyun waste kiya? Why did you waste so much of my time?" It's not like that. At any given point, you may also get a better company, they might get a better client. So till the offer is signed, everything is open. And that's what I wanted to just chime in with.
I think that's
Agree.
certainly because even the company won't waste time, and it's like probably something didn't click. Yeah, the only thing I would certainly recommend, at least to companies, not only we, all the people, not only technical writers, anybody who hires, at least if you have started the interview process and if you give the reason so that people don't have to, just keep wondering. That will always help. Okay, we have a list of questions here, but there is one question related to the current hiring part, and I find it pretty interesting. So Shweta is asking Bhavna, how are candidates shortlisted? Is there an algorithm in place that picks a resume that has all the right keywords, or is it manual?
So, Shweta, to answer your question, I think being a manager or being, into a hiring process, I think this is something that HR handles, and they provide us the resume. But the screening round that we do for all the resume is we look for the relevant, experience in technical writing, the kind of work that they have done, the tools that they have used, and if they have any certifications or sort of thing. So from my end, there is no algorithm to pick the right keyword or to filter out any resumes. I think that is HR point, and they share us the list of profiles.
Great. Okay, so moving on to one topic. So far hiring. Now people are already hired. You are having a team. And I am more interested in challenges. Solutions, we all know. So solutions are never controversial, right? Challenges are controversial. So that adds some spice. So while building your team, and can you recollect some challenge that you would like to share in building your team? So, or maybe the biggest challenge, and how did you solve it?
Biggest challenge while building a team, I mean, obviously there are one or the other challenges when you work with a variety of people in your team. But the approach that I try to address is that, I set you know, set of responsibilities for each, team member, and I try to be very clear in my communication, and I try to have a single source of channel where I communicate all the information. Then again it comes with the challenges, like some opportunities are given to someone, other is given to someone. So I think having a team of different flavors of writers with different experience, I think that way we can avoid some sort of challenge. Because when it comes to the experience, okay, we can have, okay, this is the experience set for this particular team member, and that's why this responsibility is given to this. So sort of distribution of responsibilities, that way I try to manage my team things. But then I need to be very clear when it comes into any thingy. So that way I think I try to you know handle the challenges, and then be patient myself.
One point, often with big teams and even with the smaller teams, people work with the SMEs. So there are like, in case they are working with in agile, or even if not in agile, there are meetings and all. So there is SME interaction is also always there. So there is an interesting question which at times people face from Gladius Daniel here is, how do you handle the language barrier issue when some SMEs prefer to stick to the regional language to transfer knowledge, although English is the official mode of communication?
Yeah.
Have you come across such challenges?
Yes, so I have a very good example for this. There was one person in my team from West Bengal, and since I and my team sits in Jaipur, and if you know, the regional language of Jaipur is Marwadi and Dundari that we speak. A lot of I don't know that language, regional language, but there was one SME who used to start the conversation in English, and suddenly he used to jump into this Marwadi language. Now the people from the West Bengal, he don't know, and he used to come. Okay, Bhavna, that fellows always speak in Marwadi. I don't know. So I said, okay. First of all, you try to be, uh, tell him that okay, I am not from this particular place. I am from West Bengal. I don't understand, and then maybe he's gonna stop talking in that. And that way I try to do it. Okay, this is gonna sort. Let's say it's not sorted. That how I'm gonna do. And I especially work with Spanish people. I also face this issue that they started, you know, talking in Spanish. I don't know. And then I said, okay, whatever you're saying, it's going beyond my head. Do you want me to use a translator? Then, they stop doing. So I think we need to let them know, whosoever is talking in their regional language, or, have, issues with that. You need to address that. Okay, this is not working. This is not that I can understand. Since we are working in a technical writing field, we need to get everything in English. That is why we are technical writers. So letting them know, okay, that we don't understand, is I think that is the best solution. I think we need to stop them there.
Yeah. I have one experience to share here. So long back, I was working, leading the team, and so there were our developers were the Chinese counterparts. So they will have their own Scrum team meeting, and writers were from India. They will not invite the team members. And then when I became the manager, I was like, why aren't you inviting? So first we thought, they don't want to include the Indian writers and all. Then I talked to their manager. So then the manager said that, look, the problem is our Chinese counterpart, our Chinese colleagues are not good in English. So if we start talking in English, they don't express themselves. So what we do is we conduct our regular meetings because it was agile. We conduct our daily meetings with the team because dev and QA is from here. We will give you summary twice a week. We will have one of us will have a separate meeting with your team member, and they can give the summary. And in case still they have question, you write it and CC one of the managers. So then that appeared still logical because they themselves were having the challenge. But yeah. There was another experience.
Here, I also wanted to put that since I work with Spanish people, and since they also face similar thingy that okay, they cannot speak well in English, and they are trying to talk in English. So what the organization is doing is that they are giving a mandatory courses to the Spanish people, and that is one of the goals for their learning growth. That way they need to complete the English course. They know how to speak, they know how to understand. Also, apart from this, what they generally do is if they want to talk anything about the documentation thing that needs to be covered, they cover it in the first 5 or 10 minutes in the Scrum meeting. And then they ask the TW, okay, now since the documentation is part is completed, maybe you can drop from the call very politely, and then they can talk in Spanish and whatever. So that way also we try to work out on the things.
Yes, at times that's actual challenge. So we have different workarounds. So,
Yeah.
but certainly, as Bhavna mentioned, at least speak up and probably provide some solution also. There are so many solutions and it should work generally. And one question we have here from Harini. So basically, I think one question is kind of related to hiring also. Many times candidates are rejected, especially in companies where there are bigger projects in the sense for one project you have multiple writers. Then you have scenarios where people are coming from the background where they have been the only writer. So many recruiters at times, oh, you don't have working of a experience of big teams. Probably you won't fit. So do you have any such suggestion that, okay, if somebody, her question is skills to enhance when we move to a single writer project from group project. So any different skill sets are required.
I think it all comes under learning, Harini. I think one should always have a continuous learning, habit. So when you have that learning habit in yourself and you go through various courses, various workshops, then you get a lot of self learning, and through that self learning you can showcase whatever you have learned in the interview, and you can make yourself portray like this. Okay, I know the skill sets, but until and unless, since I didn't get the opportunity to work in a big team, I don't have hands on experience, but I know and I can. So you need to convince in the hiring process that okay, I know theoretically and I can do it and I can prove it. So that kind of thing. But it is a continuous learning process. I think one should never stop learning about anything.
Yeah. And just before moving out of the hiring process, there is one question from Ranjit Kaur. So her question is about, I'm playing the role of a Scrum Master of development team that works on cloud technologies for almost 2 years. Will this be considered as value added and help me in getting a better package for technical writing?
Okay, so your question is role of Scrum Master of development team that works on.
So Ranjit, in between, you are a technical writer, right? You are saying in addition to that, you are also playing the role of a Scrum Master. Is that the
It,
status?
yes, I have been a technical writer for almost 10 years now. They made me Scrum Master for almost 2 years. And it's the role of Scrum Master is very difficult in that team because they work on different cloud technologies, and understanding that they use multiple technologies. I have to be familiar with those terms to understand what they are doing, how much work is done. It's very challenging part for me. And I'm a only technical writer for multiple teams and Scrum Master of one team.
I think, Ranjit, from this, I can only say that you take this opportunity as a learning, because now since you are handling a role of Scrum Master and you are learning about so many new keywords that can
Mhm.
help you in doing documentation, and also this responsibility give you an opportunity to handle any documentation team in future. So take this challenge as an opportunity rather than thinking okay, I am not able to understand, or facing challenges. So I think since you are handling, you can also handle a documentation team, and whatever you are learning from here can be applied in the future documentation team, or whatever responsibility get. So take this as an opportunity.
Very well said. Thanks, Bhavna.
I mean,
Yes.
I always have this look out that if I have faced any challenge, I don't take that as a challenge. First of all, I take that as an opportunity. Okay, you have given me this, or I am in this situation. Okay, how I can build my own road? How can I build my own path? How can I get? And in the end, Okay, whatever challenges that I face, prove it as, okay, this is the outcome, this is the end result that can become from a different scenario or a difficult situation. So every struggle that you have, take it as an opportunity, that I would say.
Yeah, sure.
So Bhavna, before we move to the more other interesting topic of UX writing, that's current core strength you are spending your time on, just some tips for people, ICs, who want to transition to documentation manager role or lead role. Any tips you would like to provide?
Okay, so this is, at some points, all I think everybody wants to get from an individual contributor role to, a leadership role or to a manager role. So I think the important thing is, uh, you need to seek the opportunities wherein, you can prove yourself in terms of leadership skills. Maybe it is a small opportunity. Take it, do it apart from the regular work that you are doing. That will, give you a confidence. Okay, I have take the ownership of this particular project or task, and I am leading this. So seek for the opportunity, then develop some leadership skills, build self confidence. If you have, any, new joiners in your team, be it's, graduates or junior writers or maybe senior writer, try to, have a pairing of, this junior writers. I wouldn't say junior writers, like less experienced writer, and this, more experienced writer maybe in that particular project. So try to coach, try to do the mentorship. That will give you the, a sense of responsibility and accountability for his or her work, that okay, I am doing the mentorship and I need to make sure that whomsoever I am coaching have completed. So that is one step that gives you, okay, I am leading someone, I am handling some extra responsibilities, I am moving forward towards these directions. Then also you need to understand, how you delegate the work, keep yourself calm under the situation. So when you handle someone in your team, there are situations wherein, the resource has completed the work, some resources doesn't complete the work. So keep yourself calm in that situation, try to help him. So until and unless you take the responsibility of, things or the task, you will not move forward from your current role. So, take that path forward, do one step ahead. First you have completed small project, then maybe take a bigger project, then maybe bigger project, and one day I think there will be a, self confidence or the environment created wherein you can be a leader. So and then there is a lot of courses about the leadership, roles. Read a lot of books, there are so many good books about great leaders. So I have focused a lot of things about reading the book. So if you read about, great leaders, then definitely one day you will transition from individual contributor to the leadership.
Great points. So of course, one thing which Bhavna mentioned, apart from other skills, I will always say, pick the word patience. When you are dealing with people, patience is one of the most important skill that you should have. Soft skill, but very important. So there is one interesting angle to it now. So yes, there are ICs who want to move to, who see that the next path is manager. But then we have come across many ICs who don't want to lead. Okay. But yeah, they also need some career paths. So for example, Chandralekha has asked, could you please let us know the various career path available for experienced technical writers after reaching principal or senior principal roles?
So, Chandrika, I have a very good example since you have demoed us the Git part. So, you can get get more involved into a technical documentation aspect also. So nowadays, a lot of companies are having different roles wherein, okay, somebody was into a documentation writing field and now they have moved into a technical part and doing the integrations or, um, helping the content team to build new platforms, new, documentation ecosystem. So that sort of profile you can look into. Also you can look into this business analyst role. In my organization, there are many people who have moved from documentation manager to a product manager at certain level. They get the expertise on certain products, and then they move to a program manager role as well. So that way you can move. You can also, since you are handling the documentation delivery, I think you can also handle the uh, product delivery. So delivery manager is also one thing wherein you need to do some grooming on yourself about the technical aspects. So, but these are the path I think that any technical writer can, look forward for.
Yeah, technical writer switching to BAs, that's very popular. Common thing because of your documentation and product understanding skill. Product manager, yes, and yes, like you mentioned, we have seen people who are managers for a long time switching to different kind of managers of different teams. And so much so, if we consider development as just opposite of documentation, as dev manager, that too not in a smaller organization, but big organizations. So at some level, the skill set is completely different. Yeah, technical knowledge should be required then, based on whatever you are going on. So now, Bhavna, so you have started with UX writing also. So this is also one thing, technical writers move to UX writer completely or else partially. So if a technical writer wants to get into UX writing, how should they plan it?
Okay, so if somebody wants to get from technical writing to UX writing, I think knowing about the UX principle is very much important. So you need to familiarize yourself with the fundamentals of UX principles. You should take, initially you should take some courses about UX writing. And again, I think I've seen, Puneet, from your organization only, that you have a very wonderful courses. And once even I was tempted to take one of the courses. So UX, undergo the UX writing courses, attend workshops and seminars under that. Then I think there is the certifications also provided by Salesforce on the UX writing, and then I think Google is also providing. So a lot of companies provide. You can take certification. That way, you at least know the basics how UX writing works and what exactly the fundamental is. Then get into a lot of sessions or discussions with UX writer within your organization, wherein they are discussing about the um, diagrams or figmas, or how they are gonna come up with the structures, the user interface. So that way you get the understanding what exactly is. Then comes how you want to write about the UX things. So there are a lot of style guides that guide you how to write clear and concise information. So that way you can follow that style guide. Just sign up for the UX writing, letters or the subscriptions that are there. Consult someone senior who is there in the UX writing for a longer period. Go under mentorship programs, and that way you can slowly and eventually get into a UX writing. So understanding what UX writing is, I think that is the most important. And once you have the experience, then you can do hands-off work and get into the UX writing.
Yeah, and here if I can add, for people, because I come across many people who think as a technical writer, you are editing UI messages, so you become a UX writer. Please get this out of your mind. Okay, UX writing is a completely different ball game. The only edge you have is good understanding of product. That's it.
Yeah.
So on UX writing, and this will be my last question to you. So how, like in product documentation, we know that how we collaborate and all. So in UX writing, for UX writing, how does this collaboration happen between the product team and UX for UX writing? Overall, what's the process? How does it run?
Okay, so I'll tell you what happens here in MetaCube. So basically, we very closely work with UX writers. So there are three teams. This development team that we call as engineering team. Then we have UX team, and then we have this documentation team. So documentation team and UX teams are basically tightly couple up, and we have a lot of collaborations on a daily basis. So we do conduct our kickoff meetings wherein everyone from each department gets into there. Product manager is also there, designer is there, developer is there. We discuss the goal, the objective, the scope of the project or the feature that we are creating. We define the use case, we define the persona, we define how the workflow is going to be, any other key requirements that we have. Then we do the for that particular feature. We get the insight how if somebody gets how, what will be the preferences, what are the challenges that are going to face for the user face and user interaction. Then we plan the strategy, then do the planning, develop a plan. Then we also consider voice and tone. So there is very good book about voice and tone, is connecting the people with content. I don't know if anybody have read that book. It is John Cardwell's book that talks a lot about the tone and the voice and the style that we need to follow in the UX writing. So focus or define that things, then prepare the wireframing. Once the wireframe is done, then along that wireframing, since you have that, you can start preparing your content. You can craft the messages, the labels, or the buttons that is going to appear on the UI. And then once you are done with those label suggestions and text and error messages, everything, then maybe you do the usability testing, how it's going to be used, and how it's going to be refine more in case you find anything not working, improve it. And then do the accessibility test also. So that I think that way we follow the process, Puneet.
Okay, that sounds pretty extensive. And I believe the starting part is unlike technical writers who at times get involved in the project at a later stage. In UX writing, probably you need to get started right with the word go, where the design process starts from the
Yes, so
development team.
we get into this discussion at a very initial phase only.
Yeah, right. Great, thank you so much, Bhavna. So for all these things, and probably I think we have a lot to talk more, but yeah, there is time constraint, and I can see we are already 4 minutes late. So uh, I would, there are a few points, not questions. Actually, people want some name of books on UX writing, error messages, and in general, Ranjit has asked, please suggest some good books that you have read. So maybe you are in the Telegram group at time. When you get time, you can share
Yes,
some links right
definitely.
there.
I will share the books that I have read or that are in my, pipeline or a backlog to read. So I will definitely gonna share the books that
That
I have.
right, that will be great help. And people, you can also ping there in the Telegram group. Okay. And so let's start with, we will take 5 minutes more, Bhavna, if that's okay with you. So
No,
we
no.
will take some questions here. So Anirban asks, can you share some tips on people handling as manager? How to handle people as a manager?
Yeah,
That is a
really, I
very
want to know.
difficult. So you cannot handle people until you are very patient. That is what I am been talking, since starting. So I think you need to understand uh, your team member or the people that whom you are interacting. You need to understand the need. You, if the people is raising something, you need to get into the shoe, understand, empathize, get into the real actual problem. Then only you can handle that person. Until and unless you don't understand the person completely, then it's very difficult to suggest anyone. And I think it's a real life challenge also. It's not only about handling people in the team. How so it, if you want to handle anybody, you need to understand that person. You need to build a relationship with that person, and ultimately be calm, be patient.
Sure, thanks.
Wonderful. Any other questions or thoughts also? Anyone? If you don't have questions, you can share your thoughts also in general about the topics that we discussed. Okay, or else I think we are good then, Bhavna. So thank you so much, Bhavna, for joining and explaining all your experiences. And yes, as a surprise, right now we have Shivani also with whom you have been interacting. So I would certainly like to thank Shivani for organizing this. She had a different session, she must have told you. So Shivani, you can, say the final concluding words.
Yeah, I finished with the session. I immediately joined this one. I thought that the interview might be going on. I was not sure. But Bhavna, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm sure that the people who have joined might have definitely benefited from this conversation.
Thank you so much, Shivani. And I would like to mention, Puneet, that Shivani was very much patient, and she was so much, we were into a lot of discussion, but she is one of the patient person that I think I can, I have interacted. So thank you, Shivani, so much. I mean, I invite you, the entire Tech Tribute team, to Jaipur. Maybe sometime for some sessions that will be great to interact you face to face. So thank you so
Sure,
much, Shivani.
we will certainly love to do that.
Puneet, now we
Okay.
can start our Jaipur group also then.
Yes.
So Puneet,
Certainly,
I think
certainly.
we can plan now the Tech Writers trip to Jaipur in Amer
Jaipur,
Fort.
yes.
Yes, maybe next tech tribute
Yeah.
collaboration happens at Amer Port or Jagar Port in
Ah,
Jaipur.
and it's a beautiful city, no doubt about
Yes.
it.
Yes, definitely. It's a very beautiful city, plus a lot of tradition is still there. So nice place to visit.
Great. Okay, so thank you, Bhavna, for joining again. And certainly we will like to stay connected and we will see what else we can do together
Yeah,
to help the
definitely.
community in general. And of course, if we can do something in Jaipur, that would be
Yeah,
great.
I will be very grateful if you need me anytime with any opportunities or anything that I can help with. And but thanks to Shivani and to you for giving me this opportunity to talk, because thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Shivani. You're the face behind it. I was just accidentally here.
So,
Yeah.
technical service because of you. So
And thank you everyone for joining and being patiently listening. So that's the trait basically Bhavna was mentioning, core patience. So you all showed that great patience and listening, and I'm sure you must have got benefited. And these kind of discussions, apart from these interviews and general talks, feel free to connect and discuss, keep discussing in other Telegram groups also. So thank you everyone and enjoy your day and weekend.
Yeah. Thank you.
Take care. Bye
Bye bye.
bye.
Thank you so much, Punit, for the opportunity to attend and listen these great minds.